Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Let's talk some Saints. I think everyone is aware after the news of Ryan Ramczyk being iffy. Is that fair to say? Iffy a couple of weeks ago with that nagging knee. The Saints now have two tackle positions to address. Doesn't mean replace Ramczyk, but you certainly have to address that position. What is Ramczyk's probability? What can you do to help offset that if he's not there? And then what are you doing at left tackle? And I just don't imagine that Trevor Penning is part of the plans. So you've got some options. And the first one, which is not super fascinating or, oh, that's interesting, or I hadn't thought about that, is the obvious, and it's Andrus Peat. What can you do to bring him back? And that's something that I've said a couple times that I think should be a priority for the New Orleans Saints. I think Peat was fine last year at tackle. I think that he's a guy that you can bring in for the right price and then try to address some things in the draft, but he's a stopgap. He can also swing around and play some other spots for you. Versatility, key, especially at the offensive line where injuries rack up. Like, depending on the price, I think Andrus Peat makes some sense. But there are some other names that are still free agents that I think make some sense for some other reasons. Donovan Smith is one. He's 31 years old. He played tackle for the Chiefs this past year, a lot of time at left tackle. He was with Tampa from 2015 to 2022. He's 31 years old. And Donovan Smith's most impressive characteristic has been his availability. His durability is the number I was looking for. If you look back over his time in the NFL, he started as a 22-year-old tackle for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And in 2015, he played 100% of the offensive snaps. The next year in 2016, 100% of the offensive snaps. The next year in 2017, 97%. 2018, 100%. 3 of his first 4 years in the league played 100%. The other time before that, 97%. But you keep going. 99% in 19, 96% in 2020, 97% in 2021, 96% in 2022. He never dipped below 96% of the offensive snaps Tampa played for his first 7 years in the NFL. That's impressive to me. Now, Tampa decided they were going to move on. They got a little younger at offensive line. And Kansas City swooped in at his year 30 season and said, come on in, play for us. And he did miss some time, but he played 92% of the offensive snaps for Kansas City this past year. I don't know that Donovan Smith is going to command a massive deal. He's never been a Pro Bowl type guy. He's never been an all-pro type guy. He's just been a solid, available, experienced professional tackle in the National Football League. That is something the Saints can absolutely use. Again, this is all price dependent, but that's someone I would look at. On the other side of things, if you're not looking for someone in their age 31 season and maybe looking for someone who could be a piece of your organization longer term, not suggesting Donovan Smith doesn't have 4 or 5 years left in him, maybe he does. But Mekhi Becton, in terms of his age, definitely does. Now, Mekhi Becton in the 2020 draft was the 11th pick by the Jets. But he has not lived up to the 11th pick in the draft standard. He has missed basically an entire season in 2021. And last year was okay in a completely dysfunctional Jets offense. He's an elite level athlete, test numbers through the roof, and he's 25. Now, I am not interested at all in the New Orleans Saints walking up to Mekhi Becton and offering him some sort of 5-year deal that ends up in cap, kick it down the road hell and ties up more money for the franchise long term. Here's how I would like to approach Mekhi Becton if that's the guy. Hey, Mekhi, 1-year prove-it deal. 1 year, probably the most money you're going to see on the table. But let's see it. Not a 5-year deal, not a 4-year deal, not even a 3-year deal for me, for Mekhi Becton, based on his performance thus far. You want to come here in 1 year, you're not going to age yourself out of the league if you come here and play your year 25 season for New Orleans. You'll either prove to a second team that you're not worth another shot, which could be detrimental, or you will prove yourself as worthy. We'll come back to the table and renegotiate with you. At that point, we'll know more about where Andrus Peat is. We'll know far more about where Trevor Penning is, and we'll know more about where Ryan Ramczyk is. And at that point, we've got to figure some things out. We may have a first-round draft pick we love that we don't need you, or we may really need you and have found something in your play, in this system. I'm not really holding much against Jets offensive players over the last 3 years. It's not been great. It's not easy to blot when you've got Zach Wilson back there chucking the pigskin, okay? Defensive coordinators can get a little more creative knowing he's probably not going to burn you. And that's not an easy place to play as an offensive lineman. He might be a terrible player. Not my job to assess it. He might be good, and you may not have been able to tell as a member of the Jets. So if the Saints can spend a little money here on Mekhi Becton, I would be okay with that. You've got to address this position. This is not a luxury. You throw a bunch of money at a running back, I think you're looking at a luxury here. The Saints have to address offensive line. And I would love it if they went to Mekhi Becton and said, hey, 1 year prove-it deal. I don't know if he'd be up for that or not, but I think it's advantageous for the Saints. I don't want the Saints doing anything to tie up money for 25, 26, 27. That, to me, is foolish. It was fine when Breeze and Peyton were there. We've had this discussion 400,000 times. It's not now. There is too much uncertainty with this franchise to be tying up money. I think most people who are breaking down the New Orleans Saints would suggest that a little bit of a regression is going to be needed to become an elite franchise. They may not say that on airline in Metairie. Mickey Loomis may not say that. Dennis Allen sure as heck isn't going to say that. I don't know what Gail Benson thinks, Jeff Ireland. I don't know what they think. But most of us who are on the outside are looking at this thing going, you know what? This is probably going to have to get a little bit worse. And when you're going to try to get better after it gets worse, you need money and draft picks to make it better. And if you start signing offensive tackles to 4-year deals, well, it's going to have money tied up. That's why I love the Chase Young signing. That's why I want Mekhi Becton for 1 year or Donovan Smith for a year or two. I wouldn't be just furious if you gave Donovan Smith a 2-year contract. At least he plays. At least he's a proven pro. Is he going to be the first team All-Pro? No. But he's a pro. Those are the type of deals that I'm interested in New Orleans making. They've got to do something there, and we assume they're going to do something in the draft. But these make a little bit of sense to me. It starts with Pete. He's somebody that's proven in your locker room, shown you he can play multiple positions. Not going to be a Pro Bowler, but fine. Donovan Smith, that's a guy who you can depend on to at least go out there and play, which you can't do for Trevor Penning or Ryan Ramczyk right now. And then Mekhi Becton would be a swing at a high upside guy who's young in his career. There's a world where Mekhi Becton is a Saints offensive tackle for the next 5 years, 6 years. There's a world where you find out in the middle of September that he can't play. But if you find that out, best not to have a lot of money tied up into it. The market dictates all this, and I don't have that information as to know what kind of offers will be on the table. But that's just from a pro-Saints perspective, an ideal Saints perspective. That's kind of what I'd like to see. Fascinated to see what the Saints do on the offensive line, specifically at tackle, as we move forward here. If you're looking for our Saints content, you can catch it on YouTube. Hunt on Saints. All your Saints content all year long goes right there to that YouTube channel. They're chopped up into 10-minute, very digestible segments. Our full-time shows, or our full shows, are uploaded each day as well on the Hunt Palmer Show. So go and check all of that out. Hey, it's Hunt. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.